Second reading what day?
Tuesday the 11th of November.
Tuesday the 11th of November. We now go on to the 10-minute rule bill. Ferry Services Integration and Regulation. Joe Robertson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill to make provision for the integration of ferry services with other transport services, for provision about regulating ferry services and for other connected purposes. Our great nation, the United Kingdom, is a nation of islands. This country also invented the railways. Rail, road and ferries together ensure that in every corner of our country there is a place that somebody calls home. There is also a political consensus in this country, stretching back decades, that those who provide public transport do so with certain conditions imposed upon them. And that political consensus has existed regardless of who is in government, which party holds power. So it means that train operators, whether they be soon to be the state or whether they are private companies, must provide services for a fair price that the government has a say over. They must provide timetabling that allows people to move about, regardless of whether that individual train journey is profitable on its own. And there is law that ensures that those operators must publish performance data. There are similar rules that apply to bus service providers too. But there is no national provision that applies to those who operate ferry services that communities all over the country, be they island communities, be they communities that live along riverways, rely on for accessing essential services and for employment and for seeing friends and family and all the things we do in our daily lives. And that has meant for constituents like mine on the Isle of Wight, and they are just an example, are faced with huge costs to take a car back and forth to the mainland. It means those that want to visit the Isle of Wight have to pay sometimes up to £400 just to take a car back and forth across a 5-mile journey. Because private equity groups have taken control of Whitelink and Red Funnel, who operate across the Solent, and in an entirely unregulated market, so they can do what they like. There is no fair competition because the barrier to entering that market for a new provider is simply too high. And it means that what were once half-hourly services are now hourly services. So when I arrived in Southampton last week, a minute late for the Redjet Red Funnel service to Cowes, I had to wait an hour and 10 minutes for the next ferry. Had my predecessor, one of my predecessors, Andrew Turner, who is sitting in the gallery today, done that 10 years ago, he would have only had to wait half an hour. Madam Deputy Speaker, in too many places in this country, ferry services are getting worse. And there is no mandatory reporting requirement on these companies either. So we have no objective way of telling whether they're providing a good service other than the anecdotal evidence that people like me are able to present. I am not looking in this bill to put an undue burden on ferry operators. Quite the opposite. I'm looking to end the carve-outs that they have enjoyed for too long, a carve-out that no other public transport provider benefits from. Madam Deputy Speaker, if I had the owners of Whitelink and Red Funnel in front of me now, this is what I would say to them. We are tired of your methods. We are tired of your rip-off prices, and we're tired of funding your huge ballooning bank debt interest. You have not done us a favour and you are not doing us a favour. You should be providing a lifeline transport service which the taxpayer gave you money for to stay profitable during COVID. Madam Deputy Speaker, if those ferry companies, not just on the Isle of Wight, but across the UK, truly believed in a quality service for their passengers, they would embrace regulation, just like other transport providers do in other modes of public transport. Too often when my neighbour, the Honourable Member for Isle of Wight West, or I make the argument about expensive ferry prices, Whitelink in particular come back and say, well, you can cross the Solent with us, with a car, for £31. But what they fail to admit is only if you pay that company nearly £2,000 in advance and purchase 60 individual tickets. Well, I say there aren't many people living in my constituency who can afford to give them nearly £2,000 in advance and need to travel necessarily 60 times in a year. Ferry companies must be straight and not seek to mislead or hoodwink decision makers in this place when other members and I are talking about how expensive ferry services are. And it's not just my constituents. I've had exchanges with the leader of the Council of the Scilly Isles, and we both share the view that our constituents are entirely reliant on ferry services for some educational opportunities, some essential medical services, for accessing employment opportunities, things that people on the mainland United Kingdom would take for granted. There is no reason why we should be beholden to private profit over and above everyone else. I present this bill at a time the government is already moving in this direction in terms of how it deals with rail and how it deals with buses. While I don't necessarily agree, and I don't agree with nationalisation of railways, I do agree with the sentiment and I do agree with the reasons why they are presenting those bills. The Secretary of State has said she wants to ensure better value for money for passengers. She wants to better integrate different modes of transport, and she wants to stop profit being a priority over passenger experience and connectivity. I invite her to transfer all that sentiment, that good sentiment that she feels about trains and buses, onto ferries too, and ensure that communities that I serve and others in this place are not left behind. I thank the Maritime Minister for meeting with me, and I know he's met with my neighbour, the Honourable Member for Isle of Wight West, and I urge them to continue to work with us to look at solutions for my constituents, and I would like the government to bring in their own regulation for us and devolve those powers if they think it appropriate to a forthcoming mayor. But this bill is about more than just my constituents or my constituency. It's about ensuring a fair and level playing field across the whole of the United Kingdom.
The question is that the Honourable Member have leave to bring in the bill. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Who will prepare and bring in the bill?
Mr Richard Quigley, Dame Caroline Dinage, John Cooper, Rebecca Smith, Darren Paffey, Neil Duncan Jordan, Jess Brown Fuller, Andrew George, Sian Berry, Jim Shannon and myself.
Joe Robertson.
Thank you. Ferry Services Integration and Regulation Bill.
Second reading what day?
28th of November 2025, please.
28th of November 2025. The Clerk will now proceed to read the orders of the day.
Employment Rights Bill. Consideration of Lord's message.
Now.
I can inform the House that nothing in the Lord's message engages Commons financial privilege. We will begin with Government Amendment motion to disagree with the Lords in their Amendment 1B, with which it will be convenient to consider all the other Lords amendments and Government motions as on the grouping